what they have proven is like there is a massive potential for this whole play to earn aspect. And I think this is where we will see a shift where suddenly the whole gaming, how that has evolved, especially within mobile gaming, suddenly the free to play was becoming a genre, right? And I think now this play to earn is becoming a genre. My concern, of course, is like you mentioned, the entry, right? This is really cool for the early adopters, but how will you ensure people who are discovering this now, just at least, can still onboard without any kind of money,
All right, Morten Rongaard, thank you so much for joining me today, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mark, and it's a pleasure to be here. Partly in Denmark, but yeah, we are apart, but we're still located in Denmark, right? So
cyberspace in Denmark, I guess
yes,
we can call
love it. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, you and I, we've been connected for some time now. We go a couple of years back, but we actually never met, even though we connected pre-corona. So that
Yeah,
just
no,
speaks.
true.
That just speaks to the online world is taking over the offline world, I guess.
Yeah. I think that's one of the beauties, right? Because this is what we've seen in IT for so many years, and I think one of the things is I still have team members actually on in the company which I've never met, which I go way back to like 2009, 2010. I've never met them, only online. So I think this is one of the beauties with it. So I think we are decentralized somehow, right? But still connected. So I think this is one of the very, very early examples of blockchain. So absolutely.
And I guess that begs the natural question: what are you working on these days? I think a lot of people know you in the gaming sphere and blockchain space, but for those of you who don't know you, what are you working on, and who is Morten Rongaard?
Yeah, so I started in this whole blockchain with the technology back in 2013, just like sniffing around the whole mining equipment with Bitcoin, because nothing else was out there, and I never actually understood or paid attention to the technology behind it. So I was more like, this is cool, Bitcoin. And then a couple of years later, I actually dug into the whole thing and just said, okay, this is a very cool technology, and actually it can release a lot of new potential within this space. And then I started with when Ethereum came out. This is where I can see the potential, especially within gaming, because I've always had that kind of like, if you want mass adoption, it should come through gaming, because this is where you touch the most amount of people in so many different levels. So gaming has always been a big part of my life, and also where I actually thought this is how you could interact with a lot of people, because the technology is there, and a lot of people don't understand the technology, and they shouldn't, because it's just a technology. So how you will get the mass adoption if you can get the normal daily use into it, and for me, gaming was natural. So we started the company and did our own augmented reality app, first point shooter, with using blockchain technology in it. So before everything or anything was called NFTs, where my focus has been from the beginning, then it was just like in-game collectible items. And this is where I started with the whole thing. And our success from doing an ICO, actually delivering our projects as one of the few ICOs out there, we actually approached the BBC about a potential partnership with one of their IPs called Doctor Who, which is the oldest sci-fi series from 1963, saying that we actually want to do a game concept based on Doctor Who, because you have a massive IP, great history, and it actually has the depth that you need into a backstory and a game. And a little bit surprisingly, but they actually said yes, because I guess I think it was a great concept, it was a great pitch, but again, you never know, because BBC is still a conservative company, right? So it was a big risk, but they could see that what we wanted to transform, giving the the gamers the true ownership back into their possession instead of just like us as a company owning it. So the items should actually be you as a gamer, your ownership. And also the security in trading, which smart contracts, of course, enables. So that has been like where we've been like the last couple of years. But of course, from if you take it from now and what we've done just the past 2 years, it's much more, right? We're working on music backbones, like with using the blockchain technology, of course, other games, combining physical and digital items. We're working on our big sustainability project where we're using NFTs also and using our what I call ENFT, our environmental NFT. So it's a carbon neutral NFT. How we, actually the transaction cost or carbon print is less than a Visa transaction. So stuff like this we are now utilizing in so many other projects, right? And working on. So yeah, I hope that answered a little bit of your question. Like some of them I can't go into too much because some of them we have like NDA with the companies, but we're working with some really big brands in this one. So.
And all this is encapsulated in what is known as a reality gaming group, if I'm not mistaken, right? Where you spin out all these different games and concepts, working around NFTs and blockchain in general.
Yeah.
So that, sorry, go
ahead. That's also the I would say the where you need to be aware, right? Because again, this technology is so new. When this really, it's 5 years, I would say, since really we saw the smart contracts, especially from our point of view. We started in 2017, but actually worked on it since 2016. And what I can see is definitely the easy way to get distracted, like the shiny objects. So because there is so much potential out there. And the problem is you can take it in so many different directions. So I'm trying to what should we aim for? What are the bigger goals? And how should we pursue this? So, but it is really hard not to be distracted, I would say.
Definitely. And I think Doctor Who that you mentioned is sort of where you guys started to go mainstream, or at least getting a lot of recognition in the space. Can you tell us about what the concept of game is about, or is that one of the?
No, absolutely. We started by trying to. It's a trading card game, so it's a TCG game, and we wanted to trying to make a game where I think, especially what we've seen in the blockchain games so far, is that either it's like the DApp games. What we've seen is that either suddenly there is a very high entry fee in order to play this game.
Right.
And we wanted to make a game using blockchain technology, still kept our vision about the true ownership and also the vision about the secure trading. So we wanted to create a game where it doesn't matter if a gamer discovers us 5 years down the line, he can still enter and actually play, for free or actually at very low cost, still get our very early Genesis cards, maybe not in a limited frame, but he can get it in an unlimited frame. He can still level up. So we don't want to exclude anyone from this, great opportunity in the blockchain space. So because we also know that a lot of the success often in a lot of projects, you have to have the early adopters, and we are meeting them. We are still having, loads of benefits for the early adopters, but we also have to keep the long-term vision that, this is a genre of game which could have 100 million players, right? Like we saw Hearthstone. So there won't be like 100 million players entering this space to start with. This will take a long time, and we need to make sure that, even 5 years down the line, these gamers will still be included and have the same kind of opportunities, either via marketplace to buy it, but of course the price maybe be higher for some of the limited frames. But if you're looking at the gameplay per se, then there shouldn't be any difference. So the ability text on the cards is exactly the same from an unlimited frame to a limited frame. So it's purely cosmetic. And this is where the scarcity, the blockchain aspect, and that whole thing is really cool. But I think for me, the most important thing was try to make a game where the entry bar would be so low, even after 5 years.
Right.
Still be able to play the game.
It's funny to hear you talk about Doctor Who, because there's so many things that you mentioned just now, which makes me think about Axie Infinity, which is exploding now, and I'm sure you're
Absolutely. Yeah.
fully aware of it. But you
Yeah.
mentioned a card-based game, a blockchain-based game that is about cards.
Yeah.
You mentioned the cost of entry, which is a bit of a problem, if you ask me, with Axie Infinity.
Yeah.
Um, 1 million users, sorry, 100 million users, which I think Axie Infinity is approaching or already surpassed. I'm not sure, but they are
Oh, yeah.
getting up
1
there.
million. Yeah. Yeah. They have
Yeah,
like 1 million
yeah.
right now, right? Daily active users, right? So I think,
Mm.
first of all, I know Alexander, I know a little bit of the team behind it. We followed each other through the whole space, right?
Right.
The first crypto or blockchain conference I was on, I actually met Alexander, who
Mm.
is their COO on it, and he's a great guy. I have so much respect for what these guys has done, because I
Mm.
also know what they've been through. So
Mm.
I think that also is giving me more insights, and I think what they have proven is like there is a massive potential for this whole play to earn aspect. And I think this is where we will see a shift where suddenly the whole gaming, how that has evolved, especially within mobile gaming, suddenly the free to play was becoming a genre, right? And I think
Mm.
now this play to earn is becoming a genre. My concern, of course, is like you mentioned, the entry, right? This is really
Mm.
cool for the early adopters, but how will you ensure people who are discovering this now, just at least, can
Mm.
still onboard without any kind of money,
Yeah.
and still having the ability to make money, make revenue, or contribute to the project in a very positive way, right? And I think
Mm.
this will be maybe will be the limitations somehow within Axie, right? But again, none of us know. So it's
Mm.
I could say the same thing, right? Because what we're doing with Doctor Who, this is the vision behind it, right? This is what I believe in, that we need to try and create a game 5 years down the line that people can still onboard and still buy a card for a very low price if they want one of the limited ones. But you never know, right? But at least I can assure that 5 years down the line, people can onboard this for $5 still, and not
Mm.
having to pay several thousand in order to play the game, right?
Which is
Because
required in
we
Axie
still
Infinity. It's I think like the cheapest Axie that you can buy is like 0.2 Ethereum or something like that, which amounts to like $600 more or
yeah,
less. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and again, I still think, if you want to do this again competitive, you want to really make some money. Again, it takes a lot of time, and I just think this is just a new beginning. So I think it's really hard to say, is this the right approach? I just have to
Mm.
say, I just have an enormous amount of respect for what I've done and actually have achieved. But of course, I am concerned about, the entry for other people, right? I think
Yeah.
the cool thing is that what we've seen with the play to earn is that they have proven that you can generate new jobs from this, and like suddenly change people's life. And I think this is what inspires me also, right? Because this is where I think Alexander and I share a lot of the same vision in terms of you want to change people's life through gaming, right? And I think this is one of the they're just taking a different approach, because this is one game, and we are more like a gaming group. Have a lot of different kind of projects, and
Yeah.
one of them is Doctor Who, right? And we are just lucky to have a really good, cool backstory and IP
Mm.
to back it up. So
But what I like about gaming and Axie Infinity, Doctor Who, etc., is that it really taps into a huge market. People who are not into crypto, people who are not into blockchain, they don't even need to know about blockchain to play these games. And
no,
Axie Infinity in particular, I haven't played Doctor Who, but Axie Infinity I've tried, caught my attention. Hard not to catch my attention when it is exploding like now. But it's a really good game. I'm not a
yeah,
big gaming person myself. I played Heroes of Might and Magic when I was a kid, and a little bit of Age of Empire, like strategy games in general. Axie Infinity was fun. I thought it was a fun game, and making money while I play that game, the play to earn category that you also mentioned, is
yeah.
just brilliant. It's not a lot of money, but it's just something that's fun to play with.
Yeah, but it still doesn't need to be a lot of money, right? If you are getting paid to play and
Yeah.
actually have fun at the same time, what's not to like?
Mm.
This is just like, how can you make sure that your players will earn money, and how can you still also generate revenue and make it more and more interesting, right? Because again, what we've seen, I think, so especially with the whole free to play genre, has ruined a little bit of gaming, because again, people don't have any kind of like, how should you call it in English? It's more like they don't really care about your company. It's more like, if this game, even though it's free, if this doesn't interest me, I'll just give it a bad review. I would just like, just really just ruin the whole thing with a bad review, right? And I think this is what irritates me a little bit with the free-to-play genre, because they don't actually respect the amount of hours that's been put into this, right? And you want to spread out this game. Like we did this with Reality Clash. We've been lucky to have a lot of users downloading it also. But again, we've limited by the technology, because you need to have the AR kit, you need to have the AR core in it. Of course, you will exclude some people because the technology is not spread out through all devices, right? So this is slowly will be, the more devices coming out there, the more newer devices, the more we'll have this new technology in it. But what we saw also is just like, I don't like that there isn't like a friend list. I will give you one review, right? 1-star review, and just like, then we're just writing them back saying, do you really want to review our app by giving it 1 star just because there isn't a friend list right now? This is a moving project, right? This is something we develop all the time. Look at the technology. There's not a single augmented reality app out there where with the camera or just with the phone, alone, you can generate a 360 virtual world. None. Not Pokemon, not Harry Potter, not Jurassic Park, nobody. So try and look at the technology instead. But again, it comes back to us to tell that to the user, to the player, right? So it's trying to take a step back. How can we explain this? And I think the same thing will actually, they will also now, I know they're constantly working on how can we make sure that this will be sustainable moving forward, right? So I think, it's just interesting to see. And again, I have to say, I also don't own a single Axie,
Oh, really?
because this is the problem within this space. We've all been so much into our own projects.
Right.
We follow each other, but in order to really dig into how the other, we don't have the time, especially not us who are developing games, right? I research, I do a lot of things, but I actually don't own an Axie at all. So
well, that's
sorry,
I think he wouldn't take it personal. You can.
I know he knows me. He knows me, and he's Norwegian, so he forgives me, right? So.
Yeah, and you can ask him to buy some of your NFTs and see if he has any. And if he doesn't, then.
I think I know he's been as busy as I am. So again, for me, it's just all about creating games which people will have fun with, right? This is the most important thing for me.
Are you working on play to earn as well? Are you working on these aspects? Because that's really what caught my attention actually with Axie Infinity. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, we are trying to work with that aspect. And again, it's super complex, right? And especially when you're working with I would say a company like BBC, where you need to go through even more steps, right? It's a AAA studio, a game, and just the approval process to get different kind of approvals, because from artwork to whatever, because either it's the manager or the actor, or BBC doesn't own all the rights for it, right? So there's a lot of steps in terms of approval, which makes it complicated, but also to make sure that this doesn't damage their brand, and also doesn't give, I would say, us a bigger advantage compared to the other Doctor Who titles or projects within the BBC, right? So, but the good thing is, I would say, is that we have proven with our game and the blockchain aspect of it, we have become that project that actually interacts and works with all the other Doctor Who projects within the BBC space, because suddenly we can create, like with Maze Theory, with some of the other ones, we can actually create frames which are specifically into their, like in their project, but we can actually collab in that whole way, right? So we have done some really cool partnerships, and also some really cool projects and new frames, like a glitchy angel, stuff like that. So we have from the Lonely Assassin. So we've tried to promote each other in that way, and we can be that metaverse, I would almost call, because this is what we're doing, right, with the whole thing. Nice. We are now using this whole story and the whole backstory of Doctor Who to create the planets, actually sell planets, sell plots, being able for you to show off your collection of NFTs. and also trade. You know, so there's a lot that we are working on right now. We want to reveal, and we'll, I think, end of the year or Q1, we will actually be able to reveal the next steps of this. And this is not because we're slow; it's just a longer approval because of we're
Sure.
working with BBC, right, to make sure that we are covering everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons working with a big brand like BBC or Doctor Who
Yeah,
for the particular brand. You
true.
tap into a massive brand identity, and people, I mean, even people outside of the UK, they know about Doctor Who. I'm here in Denmark, you're here in Denmark. We all know
True.
about Doctor Who. But of
Yeah, we have a
course,
big user
it
base, right?
go, yeah, but it takes more time, of course, to approve
Of
things. You can't
course.
just do
Yeah.
whatever.
No, absolutely. And this is maybe one where you really need to be aware about that also towards the community. Make sure
Mm,
that they know that the processes and, you know, really just like it's taking, you know, much longer than normally would be, because we could just take a decision, you know, in management saying that, oh, today we'll just turn left, right? But
yeah.
we can't do that because we need to go through all the steps. And I think this is, and also just be aware that, you know, that's why the community is so important, because we are spread out all over the world. You know, our mods, admins are spread out all over the world. We have people from China, Japan, South America, US, Canada, you know, whatever, you know, Africa, you know,
Mm.
we are spread all over. And I think this is one of the, also the most difficult things because of time zones and making sure everybody gets the information, and, you know, just trying to be online everywhere. So
Yeah, of
yeah.
course. Do you think, like, I'm just thinking of a, future 5, 10, 15 years ahead where, you have hardcore Harry Potter fans, Doctor Who fans, Lord of the Rings, whatever there is out there, and all these different brands and, yeah, big stories, you can say. They have a game already, and they will probably have a blockchain-based game in the future. And I can only imagine a future where, okay, if all these different Comic Cons and people buying a bunch of physical dresses and whatnot to dress up as Harry Potter or whatever you want to dress up on. If all that goes online and you can own different digital assets in your wallet and you can show that, you can flash that to your friends or family if you want to do that. Basically, what I'm saying is, do you think we will see a world where people are more preoccupied about what they hold in their digital wallet and flash that, show that to the world, instead of right now where people buy expensive cars, houses, boats, or whatever they buy in the physical world to show off their wealth? Do you think that will happen, especially with these games coming out?
Very good question. I think so. But I would say, aren't we already, you know, like more
Mm,
focused about what the neighbor actually owns, that what we possess ourselves, and what is again true ownership, right? And I understand
mm,
with buying a new boat, buying a car, but I hear you. I definitely think we will see in the future. I would say one of the cool things I love about blockchain is that suddenly we see this new economic infrastructure, and
mm,
suddenly giving, I would say, you know, normal people or poor people actually a chance to suddenly reach, you know, the skies, right, and possess
mm,
something with a very low scarcity. And I think especially within some of the physical versus digital, I still think we need to see some, you know, where you both have physical and digital. But what I really like about the digital version is, for me, it's much more transparent, because, you know, like baseball cards, you know, we often get the comment that, you know, I would rather have a physical card than actually a digital card. And
right.
for me, it's just like, okay, so what is the argument for that, right? You know, I can feel it. Okay, cool. So if you want to trade with somebody, you have to take a plane and you have to fly there and you have to do the trade, unless you actually trust the post office to send your 100,000 baseball card, and trust it will get there. And also you have to
Mm,
trust the person actually sending you the money. That's a lot of trust, right? And this is what I love about blockchain, that you can do that in a trusted environment. And again,
mm,
digital, you can trade with whoever in the whole world. And especially the circulation, it's much more transparent, that you actually know with the physical cards, right? You don't know actually if you are the only one owning Babe Ruth, you know,
mm,
whatever it is. Like it for me, it's just like much more transparent and much more secure to have the digital aspect of it. And I think we will see a lot of people flashing, and we can already see that in the metaverses. We can see that people owning a pair of Gucci's, which there's only 5 of, and and brag about this, right? And say, I'm the only one in this metaverse running around, like in Fortnite or whatever it is. And this is why I really think the big companies should try and adapt to this technology much faster, because they will unlock an unseen kind of revenue stream. And this is what we can see with the approaches we get from big brands. How can we unlock all this digital revenue? Because we have these kind of assets. We would really like to enter into this space. And how can we do this? Or how can we combine selling a physical item and then suddenly also get a digital one, which you can then brag about in the metaverses or in your wallet, right? Just saying, through your phone with the Apple Wallet or whatever it is, just like slide through that whole thing. And this is where I think, especially DeFi will meet gaming, because until now we've had like blockchain gaming or just in general gaming on one side, and art has now also become exploded with the whole thing. And then we have normal kind of like financial services using blockchain. And the problem is they have like run in parallel the last 5 years, right? And actually never crossed each other. And I think right now we see with gaming, we see with art, we see a lot of these kind of things, and NFTs. And this is what I said back when I started this whole thing, when I talked about this will be the next big thing, right? And I'm happy I was right, but also we are seeing now that suddenly it's unlocking so much revenue, and suddenly we're seeing payment gateways or payment providers working with the digital card, the credit card, actually also can contain NFTs. This means a lot to me, because this is where you can brag about it. This is where you can unlock. You can actually, stake your NFT, earn some yield. You can actually use that yield maybe to pay for your expenses or your groceries down in the supermarket. So for me, this is just like mind blowing. And this is like, I hope that a lot of these big companies will jump on this wagon, as quickly as possible, to see how can they actually unlock this whole potential, right? So
that's where things can go so wild, and this is the world that you live in. But I think most people don't recognize or realize how big this can really be. I mean, imagine a day, or the day, because it will come, I'm sure, when Fortnite or the Counter-Strike or whatever big game there is right now adopts this. You have millions, if not billions, of people starting to be aware, at least, that this is a possibility. And then what will happen is that they will get exposed to, as you say, DeFi. They will, they have these NFTs, and then, okay, how do I trade it? How do I stake it to get yield? They start getting sucked in to this entire ecosystem. Like, all the plumbing and all the infrastructure is being done and has been done in parallel, as you say, for 5 years. And all that unlocked potential is just going to explode, I'm sure, when a Fortnite or a Counter-Strike just flips the switch, basically.
Absolutely, because this is why we have approached them the last couple of years, right? Saying, first of all, just what we know of officially is that $2 billion every year is what people are losing because of hacking, or they are getting scammed from selling in-game collectible items to others. Just like, send me $200 on PayPal or whatever it is, right? And I will send you this knife I found in Counter-Strike. The issue is that this is $2 billion people are getting scammed for. What we know of, right? What people actually are reporting, I think this is like 10 times higher, because often people are just like, no, okay, I've lost it. It's my own fault, maybe, or whatever. I clicked a link. There's a lot of things with hacking. I think this is where we can really avoid that whole thing with blockchain. But again, what I really would like the big companies, first of all, to help us solve that problem, because we've solved it, right? The problem is we don't have a big company like Activision or some of these big platforms where you can actually integrate our technology and avoid that whole scamming using the smart contracts. But what I really would like them to see is the opportunity to unlocking the interoperability. So my game can be connected to them through the blockchain technology. So these kind of Gucci's I'm wearing, I can actually run in Call of Duty, I can run in Fortnite, I can do whatever it is, like
Counter-Strike running around with Gucci.
I just killed you in Call of Duty or in Counter-Strike, right? Look at my Gucci's, yeah. And actually that metadata will be recorded. You want this tournament or you want this round, whatever, in your Gucci's, right? Running around in a leopard suit of Gucci or whatever it could be. Just like brands in general, I think this will be hilarious. And especially if you can use that interoperability either as the item itself or like a multi kind of NFT that could be adapted and actually be used in different kind of games. And this is what we're working on right now. Behind the scenes, how can we make sure that our assets not only can work within our own games, but also across other games? How can we be connected to other games where this NFT can be used in it, and so on and so on? And I think this is where the true value will also be. That it's a massive potential if the interoperability could be integrated, because again, if you're tired of playing one game, often it's just a waste of money. And again, when we're looking at this whole, we're talking about the waste, resources, the environment. I think this is one of the things, right? We need to make sure that the future of gaming will be so you can take the same kind of asset and use it in multiple games. Otherwise, it's just a massive amount of resources and a waste of money, because again, going out to do user acquisition, it's really, really expensive, especially within gaming, right? We're chasing the same amount of people, especially if it's within the same kind of genre of gaming. Just imagine if we could just we just need to onboard them, and then suddenly you can expose them saying that, you can now use your NFT also in this game and this game and this game. So this will, could actually change the whole user acquisition ecosystem, I think.
And that's actually a quite smart way of looking at it. I mean, in general, distributed ledgers, that's the promise of it, right? You don't have a centralized database, a siloed database, like a Reality Gaming Group database, and then a Axie Infinity database. Like, it's all built on Ethereum, for example, which you can tap into. So if you have an NFT that you have decided together with Axie Infinity that can be used in both games, obviously you have that control, but as long as you agree on it, then the user can take that NFT from Axie Infinity and use it in Doctor Who. Or I don't think that's gonna work, but in theory it could happen.
No, absolutely. It depends on what kind of rules do you set up for this kind of smart contract. Where can you use it? What will it transform to? Because it could actually be a car, or it could be a weapon in Reality Class, but then it could actually be a specific card you're unlocking if you're using it in Doctor Who, right? So it all depends. What are we transforming it to? But I think this opens up to where I see this, that we need to create, especially with Ethereum being like the primary of this whole thing, right? And this is, Vitalik, if you're out there, just give me a call and then we can discuss, right? But I really would like us to look at how can we use the NFT technology or the blockchain technology as a user acquisition tool. So again, giving the insight of these kind of NFTs, but also giving the option that you could interact with the smart contract and, make sure that you can use this. So third-party game developers could actually get access to it, could create a game. You don't lose control because we've invented it, right? We've started the whole thing. And again, with going back to like a company like BBC, the issue is, again, we need to make sure that who gets access to it also is getting vetted for actually being able to create a game, right? Because they can't just do a strip poker game based on Doctor Who cards, right? So there are, of course, limitations, but I think it just tells us we are now moving in the right direction by trying to see how can we use this technology to actually onboard even more people, right?
Yeah.
And show the true potential, I think so.
And I'm sure Vitalik is listening in. So what I
tag him. Just tag him, right? So
exactly, he will react one way or another.
Yeah, I think so.
But you're a busy man. I know you have another meeting shortly. So just for Vitalik and everybody out there, where can people find you? How do you communicate? Is it Twitter? Like, what do you use on a daily basis?
Yeah, it's I'm often just trying to use the different kind of platforms. I'm not like a person who writes every day something on the different kind of social media, because that will be my full-time job, right? I'm only writing if I have something really to say or an opinion, but you can always find me on the different. I think the best approach would be LinkedIn. Yep. It would be Telegram. It would be Facebook. If that is. Otherwise, I'm just, now the world is opening up again. I've been invited, of course, to all these different kind of events, both online and also physical. So I am, I would say the next amount of time or rest of the year, I'm in Poland for Games Gathering. I'm also in Kiev. I am in Sigma on Malta, where I'm doing a keynote speech about NFTs. I
Nice.
will be, yeah, just traveling around the whole world. Otherwise, you can always find me, I think so, in a bar in Soho in London. I think that is,
There you go.
it
There you
definitely
go.
now again that whole world is opening up, right? Because I've been, it's been so sad because I've been isolated here in Denmark, and actually my team has been, of course, all over the world, but
Mm,
our office has been in London,
mm.
and has now been, it's 18 months actually since I've been there. So I'm really looking forward to come back next week to that. So just meeting the whole crew again, because even though we live in a digital world, it's becoming
Mm,
more and more digital. We
mm,
still need the social interaction. We need to look each other in the eyes, and it's that whole feeling we can't replace. I think so. Neither with an NFT or
mm,
with blockchain, but we can definitely make it fun. But we still need to meet people in persons and keep the relation, right? This is for me the social interaction. It's still the top of my list, despite I work in an IT world with NFTs. So maybe this is the next IT or NFT project, right? How can we create a social interaction even with an NFT and make that evolve, right? But that's a whole different conversation, I think so.
Creating something out of nothing is the hardest thing in the world, and it's a team sport, and you need to sit together, be together
Yeah,
in order to crack it.
yeah, absolutely.
Morten, thank you so much for your time, and take care wherever you are. People can connect with you in all kinds of cities, it seems like. So
Yeah.
thank you for so much for taking the time, buddy.
Thank you very much, Mark. It was such a pleasure. And yeah, ping me if there's anything, whatever, for a second talk, or, if somebody has a question, anything I can do to share knowledge and do, or at least just teach you all the mistakes we did that you don't should do, then just ping me, find me online, right? So yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mark. It was a pleasure.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Morten.